Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Cartooning, where we learn about the history of famous cartoon characters and learn to draw them together. Today we travel back in time to the 1990s as we learn about the golden age of 90s animation and Steven Spielberg's Animaniacs. Animaniacs was an animated children's TV show that ran on the Fox network from 1993 to 1998. The show centered around the adventures of the Warner brothers, Yakko and Wacko, and the Warner sister, Dot. The character design for the three stars was based on some of the first animated characters ever, such as Bosco, Felix the Cat, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and Billy cartoons, an early Looney Tunes character, as well as early Mickey Mouse cartoons from the 1930s. Their simple body compositions were easy to animate. Plus, like many classic 1930s cartoon characters, which of course were animated in black and white, the characters wore white gloves so their hands would be visible and not blend into the background or the characters' bodies. The show itself is different from other children's shows of the time because of the care and thought the producers and artists took in making each episode. In Animaniacs, the animation was great, as well as the music and the voice acting. This is especially true when it came to the music heard in the show. Animaniacs made use of a full orchestra for the entire run of the show. This was something that was not normally done for an afternoon kids show that was usually made as cheaply as possible. The show had a huge cast of characters like Rita and Runt, Slappy Squirrel, the Goodfeathers, and everyone's favorite, Pinky and the Brain, two white lab mice trying to take over the world. All of these elements came together, ensuring that Animaniacs defined the golden age of 90s animation.
Alright, let's get started with the Animaniacs. This one is going to be another ambitious one. Let's take a look at our reference drawing. Not only are we drawing all three characters, but we're also giving them a background shape in the very famous Warner Brothers shield shape. We're also going to be using bubble letters today. So let's get started laying down our pencil lines. And I guess the first thing we need to do, of course, is make sure you have your paper, pencil, eraser you like. I think I'm going to use mostly a fine point Sharpie today, but I'm going to hold on to my ultra fine point just in case. And then, of course, assorted colors when we get to them. But let's start with our pencils. We're going to put the shield shape in first. So that is essentially two diagonal lines. I'm going to try to draw as dark as possible so that the camera can see it. Almost making like a pitched roof here. Then it makes a step. Then it makes another step. Clean that up a little. Down. Step. Another step. And it's going to meet at a point at the bottom. So let's just, we don't have to draw this line, but put a little dot, just eyeball it. Put a little dot right there. And that is the bottom center. And then just draw a curved line to that dot on both sides. 1, 2. All right. Please don't worry if it's not perfect. All right, and we're going to put in another line here. Most of these lines are going to be covered by the characters later on, so like I said, don't worry about it being perfect. Okay, so we outlined our shield. All right, and then we're going to create a third line on the outside. All right, let's take a look at our reference drawing real quick. We have this band going around the center that's separating Yakko and Wacko from Dot. So let's draw that in. That is just a curved line. Let me move that up just a little bit. Right about here. Curved line going right across. And it's a banner, so it's going to have two lines going across. They will be connected going down this way, and it's also going to be wrapping around the bottom. So we're going to draw a little line going behind the shield. Okay, whatever's inside this band, you can go ahead and erase right now. So that's where we're going to put the words, or the letters for Animaniacs. Let's get to that, because that one's probably going to be a little time consuming. Do the outline, the perimeter of the letter first, and then whatever shapes go on the inside. The A and the N in Animaniacs overlap a little bit. And if we have time, we'll put in a little bit of shadow on those letters later on. But for right now, we have Animaniacs down there. And that's all we need. Now, actually what's good about this particular drawing is that we're not drawing the whole body. We're pretty much drawing them from the waist up. So we're just going to put in head shapes where we think they're going to be, or where we want them to be, because this is your drawing. Don't worry about it if it doesn't match exactly as mine. So we're going to draw a little oval shape for Wacko, a rounder shape for Wacko. Dot will be down here. Alright, so we got our head shapes in. Now let's start putting on some details. I'm going to put two little ovals right here at the bottom of Wacko's head. That's going to help us figure out where his cheeks are. Alright? Because once we have those two little ovals in, we're going to put, where they meet, you're going to put a little nose. That's just another little oval. Okay? And then we could put in one eyebrow. Now his eyebrows go all the way from his cheek all the way over to over his eye, and then over the other eye. It's like an old-fashioned cartoon, black and white cartoon from the 30s. Right, and then that's where his cheek is, and that's where his hair is going to spring up from. But before we do his hair, we're gonna just sketch in the little gleam for his nose, and he has two different sized eyes. One of them is going to be an oval right there with a gleam, and the other one's going to be a smaller oval with a gleam right there. Okay? Now from the edges of the cheeks here and here, we're going to have two little, almost like shark fins coming up. 1, 2. And then it goes into his head. This will all be black later on. Let's put in his ears. Almost like do a little floating oval and then connect it with two diagonal lines going back into the head. And the other one is going to be over here. Actually, let's just move that up just a little bit. If it goes off the edge of the paper, don't worry about it. Happens to me all the time. Alright, we can fix that line. Alright, he just has a basic smile right there. And he's holding his head up with one hand. And just like classic cartoon characters from the 30s and the 40s, they all have the white gloves. Actually makes it easy for us to draw. So there's one glove holding it up. He's going to have one, this is his neck, and to an arm that's going to be resting on the Animaniacs banner. Let's draw in just the shape of his hand right now. We'll go back in later. Right, this elbow is going to be going up, then back into the body. So, and his body color is black. So a lot of times, you're not going to see his body if it's over another part of his body. And that's the reason for the white gloves. If you think back to one of the original Mickey Mouse cartoons, he did not wear white gloves, and they noticed that when their black hands were in front of their black bodies, you wouldn't be able to see their hands, so they decided to put on gloves. And it stuck for a lot of characters. And there's just a little separation right there, not much. We don't see his high-waisted pants. They're all behind the banner. Let's move on to Wacko. Right, he's wearing a hat. He always wears his red hat. Just draw the hat right on top of the circle. And same thing, we're going to put two little ovals here and here. This is where his cheeks are going to spring out from, but we're going to put a third one right here. This is going to be his open mouth eventually. And there's his nose. He's got the same deal. One eye bigger than the other, diagonal, and leaning towards each other. Don't forget to put in the gleam in there. We can use those cheeks to show the black going in towards the face, then coming back out. He has got 1, 2, 3 on one side, little shark fins pointing up. 1, 2 on this side. All right, we can just shade that in for now. That's going to be black later. Let's put in his smile. He's got a big open mouth because his tongue is always flopping out. So we're going to draw his tongue really comically oversized, coming out that way. And the suggestion of a lower lip, that cheek tucking behind that lower lip. You'll be able to see this a little bit better once we ink it. And if you ever need to rewind or pause, go ahead and do that. He's going to have one ear. His ears come out of little holes in the hat. So I drew the little hole right here, and this is where one ear is going to come out. Okay. He has his arms straight out. So there's one sleeve. Here's the other sleeve. His arms going back in. He's wearing a big blue shirt. We don't see the rest of his body. It's behind the banner. And we're just going to draw in a thumb and then 3 fingers, 1, 2, and 3 going out. So once again, a thumb, then 1, 2, 3 fingers going out. We'll do the other one over here. His hand position is a little bit different here. He's got a thumb, he's got a finger, and then the 2 other fingers are going down this way. In fact, it's attached to part of his palm. Again, you'll see this a lot better once we ink it. All right, well, those are the pencils for Wacko. Oh, let's not forget his the neck of his shirt, which is a little bit bigger. Okay, let's do Dot. So she's got this flower in her hair, so let's sketch the flower in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals. It's got a little circle in the side, and she's got 2 little, her ears go up as if it was a ponytail. Okay, and the same deal. We're going to put in 2 ovals for the cheeks, and then a bigger one. Her mouth is very wide open, and she's got same thing as Wacko, the nose right there. Her eyes are pretty much the same size. Maybe a little bit, one is a little bit bigger than the other, but not as obvious as in the other two. Now her hair comes out from underneath the flower and then makes 2 points like this. We're going to put some notches in those points in a second, but I just want to get them in first. I want to draw her face first. The top of her smile. Her open mouth. And she's got her tongue. It's not coming out like Wacko's. And this cheek is, let me just clean that line up a little bit. This cheek is coming out a little bit farther. Okay. And all we see of her arms, and they're coming up here. Try to draw her as inside the shield as best as possible, but then her arm, her hands are definitely going to come out. That might not be with yours, but that's how it is with mine. So this is her pinky, actually, going into her glove. 1 finger, 2 finger, and that last finger that we drew is going to be connected to a thumb, going back into the glove. Thumb, and this one's easy. 1, 2, 3. Back into the glove. All right, those are our pencils. I know I probably went a little bit fast, but there was a lot of character design to do. So let's start inking this. I'm going to do the characters first because the characters are going to be on top of the banner. But remember, think before you ink because you can't erase permanent marker. I'm going to start with a ultra fine point on their faces. Now I can switch to the fine point. And this is whatever's comfortable for you. And because these are characters from the 30s and 40s, they're mostly black and white except for their clothes and for their red noses. So as we ink, I'm going to color in black where it's needed. Here's where I told you, when their body overlaps, you don't really see any separation. So you just ink that all one color, black. Let's just clean up that line, maybe with an ultra fine point. It's definitely too chunky. With an ultra fine point, you can get really, really close details. Alright, let's move on to Wacko. And I'm going to also ink in the inside of his mouth here. Just noticed, gotta draw the brim. He wears his hat backwards. So let's pencil that brim in. So sort of like a little half circle sticking out from behind him, and then a curved line going back towards the hair. Might as well ink that in now. We'll go back later on with the inking marker and get that black. Yeah, let's do dot. Oh, we gotta put her notches in, forgot that. Put a notch there and here. Okay, characters are done. Let's do the banner. I think we're good for a fine point with that. Remember, don't ink over her ears because her ears go over the sign. Don't go through her hand. Now we're going to show a little bit of perspective, but just putting in a line right there actually looks like that is three-dimensional now. You don't have to put that in, but it's a nice little touch. And we only see the background shape where the characters are not cutting it off. We're also going to put that line here right there, and right there. Not sure if we're going to be seeing it too much over here, but I think right here and right here. All right. All right, at this point, take a little bit of time and erase your original pencil lines. All right, ink the character like I did over here. Like I said I was going to, but then I didn't. Ink that in here. All the black on the character. All three characters. All right, let's do red for their nose. Also red for Wacko's hat. And red on this part of the shield. Okay. Pink for their tongues. Well, the only two tongues we're seeing are Wacko's and Dot's. Could also do the inside of her mouth black. Light blue for Wacko's shirt. Our orange for the Dot. It's also yellow on the background here. Orange on the outside of the shield. And the banner is also going to be orange, except the letters. The letters will stay white. Little touch-ups here and there. Ooh, told you that was an ambitious one. Animaniacs.